I would like to call the Monday, April 14th, 2025 meeting, the Board of Education for Rogue Community College to order at 5:02. Do we have a quorum? We do have a quorum. Thank you, Maria and Jonathan, for joining us remotely this evening. Randy, I understand we have some two recognitions to make this evening.
We do have two. If Rachel and Holly would join me up front here real quick.
Yes, you better. I don't know about that.
This evening, we are recognizing two recipients or recent completers of the Oregon Council of Student Service Administrators Leadership Institute. Both Rachel Ostrowski and Holly Adair completed the program. One of the things we really commit to, particularly as we've been busy the last couple of years, is continued professional development of our folks at the college. And we are very happy to support their ongoing professional development endeavors. And these two in particular, they're never short of ideas or opportunities to pursue. So we're excited for them doing that. And we know that this institute was put together to really kind of help our future leaders and our current managers kind of grow into understanding what we're trying to accomplish in the state. So thank you both for the time commitments you made to the program on top of your regular jobs. I know it'll help you in your work and our college do better. So thank you.
Thank you.
Holly? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Before we proceed with today's meeting, I would like to make an adjustment to the agenda. The proposed item is granting authority for presidential contract negotiations. I would like to amend the agenda to include it as an item after we return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session portion of the meeting. To proceed with this change, I would now entertain a motion to amend the agenda and include this item. The amended agenda item would read.
I move to amend the agenda to include the item granting authority for presidential contract negotiation.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And no abstention. So the motion carries unanimously with those present. All right, thank you. Okay, we are now in the public comment section. I don't believe we have any public comment, so we will move to college reports. Is there a student government report? Christian Smith?
Second to approve.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Christian.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Today we have a pretty short report. Starting off with WIG number 2, student success. We had the Alpha Zeta Pi Petapup events on the Riverside, Redwood, and Table Rock campuses. Tuesday the 18th through the 20th. The College Honor Society Alpha Zeta Pi hosted the event. Students were invited to take a small break from their finals and engage with some therapy dogs on campus to de-stress. Steady flow of traffic stopping to engage with the dogs, and overall a successful event. Next up, we had spring term, week of welcome for all 3 campuses. We had coloring banners, this time instead of the rock painting. Constant stream of engagement, and tables were full of students nearly the entire time, according to reports I was given. And the last item I have is an acknowledgement for our new Director of Publicity and Media, Jade Keglevitz. Super excited to have another member of the team. And that's all I have.
Wonderful, Christian. Thank you very much for that. Very nice report.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, we're going to move to Faculty Association. Is Mary Middleton with us this evening? Mary is not on Zoom. Faculty Senate, Katie or Michelle, are either of them present tonight? They're not. And Nikki, or classified association, is Nikki available? Nikki is not. Okay. All right, board reports. Executive committee, Vanessa.
That's me. We met the third, I don't know when it was, last week, I don't know. We did talk a little bit about that you would be bringing forth some strategic planning options. We had quite a little discussion around human subjects and what that term means. And we had a request for the explanation on action items that we talked about earlier in our work session. Kind of went over the report of what our upcoming work session and topics are going to be. And wrote down something about the HEC report to the commission. Is that you? Did a HEC report to the? You
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
report to the HEC?
Yeah, so there's
Okay.
there's
I apparently didn't take really good notes
Yeah.
about that. I was listening, right?
So there's a financial monitoring report
Okay.
that will be done at the June meeting of the HEC. And what we will do is we will release
right.
some information to coincide with theirs, and then at our regular board meeting, which will be afterwards, we'll provide more information on it. But we don't want you to be surprised by the media might pick up from the report before the board meeting.
What you said.
What he said. That's that informational. All right. Okay, then let's move to board outreach committee, and Jonathan, anything to share?
I did. I jumped into the deep end and attended the Rogue Valley Council of Governments meeting after our last board meeting, and got myself signed up for their budget committee as well. So that was a great introduction. But it was a great meeting. Leaders from the municipalities throughout the region and special districts, and look forward to providing more information back and also providing information to them on RCC.
Great, thank you, Jonathan, for being our representative. That's great news. And this morning, as I was driving to meet with Randy for our monthly meeting before our board meeting, I happened to see a truck with the Rogue Valley Council of Governments, I think, delivering Meals on Wheels. So that's part of the efforts that they provide to the community as well. Thank you for that. OCCA OSB liaison, and you're up again, Jonathan.
I can't fill in for Pat on this. I think there's a good information in the report on the legislative work that OCCA has done. We had our committee meeting last week, and a whole bunch of bills were cut out of the session after the deadline on committee hearings. And so anyway, good information in the report.
Yes, there is. Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. And there is lots of great information. Maria, Board Foundation Liaison, anything to share?
Nothing specific other than to thank those of you who were able to join us for the RCC and Foundation Board meet and greet. We had a great time at Danson. So thank you to the Foundation for inviting us to join them. I think was hopefully we get to do this every year or more often.
I agree. I think it'd be nice to connect with them at least a couple times a year. Thank you for that. All right, President's Performance Review Committee. Maria or Roger, would you like to share anything? I know we're going to move into executive session this evening, and then we have something in open session. Anything to add or share about our work together?
From my standpoint, not particularly. We successfully completed, all of the board members completed the tool and ended up giving the report to Randy and whatever, and we're going to be getting into the details a little bit later on in the meeting in the executive session.
Exactly. All right, anything to add, Maria?
Just thank you to Rochelle for, as usual, keeping us on track and on the same page. So thank you so much to her.
For that. All right, we're going to move on to college updates. So President's report, Randy?
Yeah, keep it light this month. I provided a little bit of written information for you to show. One of the things I'll highlight is, and part of this is a piece of what will enrollment will be part of the contribution to the financial monitoring report put on by HEC. And in it, one of the things that you see is the enrollment trend over the last several years at the colleges in the state. And this is data that's available on their data website as well. But the way it's reflected, when you look at the last 10 years, is enrollment across the state is down still 24%. It looks a lot different than it did before. But RCC is only down 11%. So we have picked up a lot of our lost enrollment over the time. Looking at a more recent and tighter time frame, and I share this because our number one goal for the last couple of years has been stabilize enrollment. So the 2-year trend for colleges across the state is a 13% increase in enrollment. At RCC, we've been the fastest growing college over that time at 36%. And our teams have worked tirelessly to make that enrollment accessible to students and helping the students who do come succeed at a higher rate. So this is evidence of both our access and success efforts coming to fruition. I will highlight that May 9th will be our college in service, and we've got a team working really hard to put that together. At that, I will make an all college address, sharing kind of some key updates on the college and a little bit of strategic direction. And as I typically do, I will share that slide deck with you. I also, if we have board members who would like to come for that portion of the day, we can find a way to make that work as well. In my report also, and Jonathan referenced it, is OCCA monthly update to the colleges. And from it, I will also highlight that April is National Community College Month. So
okay.
you should support your community college every month, but especially so in April. And then the last thing I have to say is that I appreciate moving the board meeting to Monday this month instead of traditional tomorrow. I have plans to take the next couple of weeks off, and maybe depending on how evaluation goes tonight, I might take more time. But I will be leaving tonight and then planning to return May 5th.
All right.
Can I ask one quick question
Sure.
about the OCCA? It might be a Rachel question, actually. You know, we're supposed to take this training,
Mhm.
board training, but they've been full forever and ever. Is that something we're still working on trying to? I think that's
Yeah.
all I needed to see. Your head nodding was all I needed. Thank you.
So agencies are able to try to get a qualified trainer, and they realize that it's full. So Karen Smith with OCCA is looking at being approved as a trainer and maybe offering
Regional.
some that might help in times that or with quantities. Yeah, it's
Okay.
been interesting to see how they're gonna get that across the finish line, because they're all full and they're pretty much all offered during the workday, which a lot of elected officials across the state work during the day as well.
Which made me, when I saw the training on the OCCA thing, it made me think about it.
Wonderful if Karen is approved to have it at the September conference and kind of,
That's exactly. Last time I talked to her was just a couple days ago. She's hoping to get approved. So it's starting towards the end of summer, fall. She's even gonna do a condensed version. She's hoping she can do it like the hour and a half, and offer it as part of the new board member, in September, OCCA does, and to the conference.
So nice.
right, thank you. Okay, then we will move to senior leadership team. So I'll start with Juliet. All right.
So if you look in our report this month, you can see that we've had a lot of visitors on campus.
Yes.
There's a lot of pictures about visitors on campus from different high schools. We've done the accessibility tours from ESD. We've had middle school kids from North and South here, Hidden Valley, and all over. If you want to see more people on campus, we're going to have all the second graders from one of our elementary schools on this campus on Thursday. So we've been bringing a lot of people to campus the last couple of months. You can also see we had a good year in athletics with everyone making the playoffs. So you can kind of see that in some of the signings, like our athletes are moving on. So it's all listed what schools they're going to. So pretty excited about that. So the opportunities for them to continue their careers. And then if you look on 7B14, and Rachel didn't say. So in Rachel's report, she talks about hoping to meet the dual credit numbers from 1920. You know, at the time she wrote the report, we didn't have the final numbers in, hoping to meet or exceed, and just would like to say definitely exceeded those numbers. So I think it's 233 more students than 1920. So we're starting to pick those numbers back up again. And if you compare us between this year and last year, like the trend of growing, almost 400 more students participated in dual credit this year than last year. So we've done a lot of investment in high school partnerships, relationships, dual credit, early college, all of the things. But on the dual credit numbers, you can really see where having those teams out there and working really closely with our high schools is making a difference. And we've heard a lot of positive feedback from our partners about being out there and being visible and supporting the students. And so really excited to have 1,455 students receive dual credit from us this year.
Great, that's awesome. All right, anything else to add on your report, Juliet? Okay, then we will move to Lisa's report.
I know you're all waiting, so the budget will be released May 8th, so check your inbox, be ready. May 13th, just reminder, will be a 2-hour meeting. We'll go through the whole budget document, and then we'll ask for questions by May 16th, and then we'll come back on the 20th and follow up with any questions you have. Again, if you have questions before or need something, please let Rochelle know and she'll reach out to me. Allied Health Building, we'd like to take you on a tour June 17th. So please mark your calendars.
17.
Yes, I believe it's the June board meeting.
The next meeting.
So
Would that be earlier than the 4 o'clock or would the 4?
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be, okay.
yeah, I think it was at 3. Is that right, Rochelle?
We did 3:30, but it was tight for the 4 o'clock work.
That's good. Good.
So I wanted to highlight a project Anu and his team are working on with Katie Everett over in HR is automating adding our employees to our network access. So during onboarding and offboarding, it's a large project. He's been working on it for months and months and months and has months to go. But once this is done, it's going to be a great advancement for the college having that automated from ADP over to our network. Online bookstore or just the bookstore in and of itself, we made some different adjustments. So in there, we talk about we just made the threshold. There's a 75% threshold minimum that you have to have for all your credit courses with books on there. Again, we made a slight adjustment. So we made it just above that at 76%. We are working with faculty to make sure that we are being prepared for the first day and making that all come around. But again, we had some changes with the new vendor. Finally, with our contracts and procurement office, just something new that they are working on. They created a work order system and now we're tracking all of those work orders. And I believe one day she was talking about she had 60 contracts waiting for her to review and sign. So we're getting a handle on how much is actually running through that office and doing a better tracking everything. So very excited for the progress we're making.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Any questions?
Just one, I'm curious, we've been quite a journey with the bookstore over the last 10 years, has it been? Are we in better shape now than we have been? Are we going to stay with this vendor? Is it working out okay?
We just started with this vendor. Yes, it's much better than our last vendor. They have closer warehouses to get the books here faster than our last vendor. They're also larger. One of the hiccups with our last vendor was they may have the same book on the shelf for another college or university, but they wouldn't grab that and send it to our students. So we had some the disperse or the books coming to us would be a little bit more behind. This new vendor doesn't work that way. So they're easier to work with. There's always kinks when you're working with a new vendor, getting your language together, but yeah, it's going well.
Okay, all right. So it's likely we would stay with the same vendor at least for another year.
Oh, a minimum, yeah,
Okay, sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been a frustration to the students, obviously. So whatever can be done needs to be done if we can do it.
Yeah, we needed to leave our last vendor. They were great, but there were some difficulties working with them and this will be much better.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Lisa? All right, then we will then move on to foundation, but I don't see Cass here.
Cass is at a conflicting event. She's at a different meeting elsewhere in the state.
All right, we will catch up with her at the next meetings, and then institutional effectiveness. Isam, is there anything you'd like to add to that wonderful presentation at 4 o'clock?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All
Thank you.
right, great, thank you. Okay. Board action and information. We'll move to section 8. So let's start with the monthly financial data report, the March 2025 report.
So when we released this report, it was a couple of days before we had finished listing all of the charges for students. Just for what's different than RoadNet, you actually have to list the charges, so they were working on that. So I believe in the financial statements, we had $17.6 million is what we were anticipating for the entire year, with tuition and fees. We're down to 17.3. There are still things that will occur around potential late fees or other installment plan type activities. So that may change a little bit, but that's a good number. Even with that, we're still above what we had originally budgeted, over $1 million.
Any questions for Lisa on financial? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on then to the revised board policy protection of human subjects, first reading. Andy, would you like to take that, or should we just open it up to board discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask, I will take this one and we'll come up with a strategy since to tackle this a little bit moving forward. But this is one that if you read as part of your packet, the red line version, this is an existing policy that is just getting a little bit of overhaul, no substantive changes, just some language changes. And protection of human subjects is when research is conducted either by or on or for our students or staff or members of our college community, in the world of research as human subjects. And so as a human subject in that study, this is the policy that provides protection to them.
We just kind of took one big policy and broke it down into two, right? But
Yeah. So
data governance and then.
yeah, so the
protection.
data governance
Just to
is-
make sure I.
Yep.
All right, any comments or questions? No questions. Okay, let's move on then to the other half of that, new board policy 3240, data governance. We've had an opportunity to read it. Looks like it's pulling out the existing language and putting it in a separate policy.
Yeah, so 3230 had data governance with human subjects. It's now been removed.
I may just add on this one as well. We're also updating a few things with the references and so on. So it is it's more up to date.
Things at the top in
Yes.
this, okay.
It allows us, we're putting a lot of efforts into data governance, so by
Mhm.
stripping it, it gives it more specific.
Any questions? I don't see any questions or hear any. All right, let's move on then to the last information item, revised board policy 4235, credit for prior learning. I was pleased to actually read this policy, and I like the fact that it's very succinct and to the point. So any questions or thoughts or comments
I
on?
would love to
this
hear
one?
what you were gonna.
I was just gonna, like, it's a small update as credit for prior learning is done in other ways besides examination. So clarifying the language and aligning it more with with how we talk about credit for prior learning across the state.
Like that.
All right. Okay, then we will move on to action items. And the first action item is revised board policy 7160, professional development. And this is a second reading. So I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved by Roger
I'll second it.
and seconded by Vanessa that we adopt professional development. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Hearing any abstentions, all 5 have said yes, motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on then to revised board policy, contract with AVI SPL
See.
LLC. And Randy, would someone like
Lisa's
to
gonna talk to
speak about
me
this
too.
one?
One of the larger projects we have been working on for over a year is upgrading classrooms in our meeting spaces and looking at different technology. ABI SPL is the vendor that we chose to move forward with. They are on a cooperative contract, so we can move forward without doing a formal process every time. We started with the meeting spaces. The software that is actually running the computer and all of the stuff is something that they develop in-house. So before we test that in the classrooms, we wanted to test it outside. So the next step is to bring that forward and test it in 2 classrooms. 2 of the class or in 4 classrooms, 2 at Redwood, 2 at TRC. 2 classrooms will just be upgrading the equipment and putting in the new software. The other 2 classrooms will be more of a hybrid situation, similar to this, but not exact. We will continue if this does work and we faculty are satisfied with these rooms and the way that they are working, then we would continue to move forward as budget allows to upgrade the other classrooms across all 3 campuses.
Did I see a number, something like 200 classrooms potentially? That's a lot of dollars, depending on what the cost is per classroom. I assume that it goes down eventually, or maybe we're not gonna do more than, say, 25% of the classrooms.
So the hybrid classrooms are rather expensive. The other classrooms, as we learn about how their software works, and we're still working with on the process, but the initial thought was we have them come in and do this on a couple of classrooms. They're buying the equipment we would buy, we're buying it through them. And then they install it and bring their software. And so we would then just buy their software and we could install, but there's also a cost for us installing as well. We're working with SOU and may have a partnership with them for the HEC building and bringing the software there as well. Anu met with them last week. And so we will have more conversations with them to see how we can partner. And if we learn how to install the equipment ourselves, that would be great. So
So
we're going down the road and then we'll see how we can make it less expensive.
I guess the bottom line is we really don't have an idea of, on a per classroom basis, what we're gonna be facing as we go. I mean, it's obviously the right thing to do. I mean, there's no sense in creating the ability to do a hybrid class if you can't support it, and I totally support that. But I guess I'm trying to get, are we talking about millions of dollars down here as we go through over time, or we don't have a handle on
Over
it?
time, I think, right, it would be, but the part of the reason you grow these strategies live is because one, we're gonna implement the abilities to do it, but at the same time, we need our faculty to adopt. What we don't wanna do is put high dollar equipment in a room that's not being utilized, so
Yeah.
show growing it and figuring out, so there are gonna be, we have up to 200 classrooms, but they're not all, you're gonna have where faculty say, I'm comfortable with this learning environment as long as I'm doing this. So it'll grow live over time, but the intent is to make sure that we have adoption at the same rate of installation.
Got it.
I will admit that we have not changed our technology in the podium since
A little while.
many 10, 15 years. And I believe most of the equipment in the HEC is original, not the computers, but the other technology within the room. So
The infrastructure.
in the actual, what are those projectors, those types of things are still have been there a very long time. So they should last.
Well, comment, this projection is superior. It's sharp and it's really high quality, so. Any other questions for Lisa on this? Okay. Hearing none,
I move we approve the contract as present.
Second it?
been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. And no abstentions, so it carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, let's move on then to dental equipment purchases for TRC and RWC, the Redwood and the other campus, Table Rock campus. Juliet, would you like to speak to that?
Both, this is the equipment for our growing dental programs.
Yes.
A lot is the e-billing here and our accreditation requirements. We have to have the equipment in place before they come out and do the site visit. So we're getting that space all ready for our CODA visit, and some of it's the expansion of the programming.
It is pricey. Any questions? All right, so I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved by Roger,
I'll second it.
seconded by Vanessa. Any further discussion on the motion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Unanimous? All right. Let's move on to contract for architecture, engineering services, transportation, technology. Lisa.
And I'm gonna start real quick, just give a little background on the project, and then Lisa will talk about the contracts for the next two items. As a reminder, property at the community colleges is locally owned property and the universities are state. So with that, the state provides limited capital resources available to us. What it is today is on a periodic basis by biennium, we are eligible to apply for the state to sell capital grants. And what is currently a cap of $8 million that requires a match. So if we have a project that is gonna cost $16 million or more, we could request $8 million and we would have to have the $8+ million match. A number of years ago, we identified transportation technology as our next capital grant project. That project has evolved a little bit over the years from key center in Grants Pass to having redundancies in Josephine and Jackson counties, knowing that geography is a barrier. But when we made the original application, we requested $7 million, what was going to be the equivalent of the match needed for that time. As the project scope has changed, the price, as you might imagine, cost of construction over time, scope of the project has changed. So we are eligible to get that for the state to sell those $7.1 million bonds. But in order to do so, we have to have the match money, and we have to have the match money put in a special account so you know it's there. At least we've already done that. We've moved the money so it's there. So we're authorizing the state to sell those bonds this spring. And so the resources for this project have already been identified minimally. Part of what it will include also, though, is we're having conversations with industry about what they would like scope of project to mean. So there will be a capital campaign component as part of this project too, based on where the project may go based on industry need. But the floor of it is looking at making sure that we have our match money that we've put aside to meet the state capital grant request. So that's kind of where the project itself will include what we're calling transportation technology, which is both diesel and automotive. Today, automotive is in Grants Pass and diesel is at Table Rock in White City. When this is done, components of both will be in each county at both of those campuses. So with that in mind, Lisa and a crew of others, and she'll talk about the process, have taken under efforts to get us to the items that are on the agenda today.
So the way that we're delivering this project is through a construction manager, general contractor, CMGC process. So that there's collaboration between our architects and our construction folks all at the beginning. And so we issued a request for qualification for the architectural and engineering services, as well as the construction. Again, I'll just talk about the process, and then I'll go into detail about both. Essentially, the firms submitted their written proposal. We also invited them out to answer any questions. Then some of the firms were invited out to be interviewed. Actually, the majority of them were interviewed by a group of us. And then during that time, they were asked to do a presentation in addition to ask questions. And each all of the architects were asked the same questions and all of the contractors were asked the same questions during this time, and they had a set amount of time to do it. Their scores from when we reviewed their initial proposal and their interviews are the scores that you're seeing there put together to see who our top rank was. So your architects do not submit a cost proposal with their proposal at the beginning. What happens is after you select your architect, then they sit down, Greg sat down with the architectural firm we selected, and they negotiate and they go through all of the items in which they are proposing to do through that architectural process. He did bring that cost down, and then at the end, they have a not to exceed contract that we're bringing forward to you. On the other side with the construction group, we picked our top and then they actually gave us costs. And the first cost is to look at what it would take to work with the architects during this initial phase. Then when we come back and we have the actual design, they will put together a bit of what it's going to cost for construction overall. And then we will have a not to exceed contract at that time as well. So with the architect, we had 6 firms attend the pre-proposal meeting, and 5 of the firms submitted responses. So KSW Architects, ORW, Integris, Axis Design Group, and Solark Architecture. They all were interviewed. You saw their final scores. And then, as I mentioned, Greg sat down and negotiated with them. And he brought the cost down around $250,000 as he worked through the entire contract. Would you like me to do the construction as well? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, the added info. My question was really around what the total cost of the project is projected to be. And that helps me, because I think it's a fairly low number that the contract is for based on just averages of what typically architecture firms would charge. So what would you say the estimated ballpark number for the facility is projected?
My projection would be different than Greg will tell you, because I'm going to tell you the whole cost of what I think. Greg would tell you this is
Greg's not here, so.
This is what construction would be. So I'm estimating between 14 and 16 million for the entire project and equipment that is purchased.
So to me, usually those fees, architecture fees are like between, I don't know, 8 and 15%. So this is really well on the low end of that. And I see that Integris had the higher score based on the questions that you asked. So I don't have any further questions.
I guess I do, and it kind of goes back to the financing. Randy, you talked about the fact that the matching dollars have already been put aside. I assume that those were pulled from our general operating funds, or were they brought from someplace else, or you just found them underneath the mattress?
No mattresses.
No mattresses.
They were brought over from our reinvestment reserves. Yeah, and we, as I said, we absolutely have an intent to do some capital campaigning around equipment, cost of construction, things to bring our match down. But it was important for us to get this project moving, and in order to do so, we had to put the money aside to show the state it's safe for you to sell the bonds. So if we are able to work with industry to help support the project, to make it more expansive for students, and that's part of the reason the scope of the project, based on industry commitment and interest, might influence, the ending cost. So we've put aside enough for our match requirements for the state for them to be able to sell the $7 million in bonds.
Okay, I heard a number 14, 16. So it's possible that the combined isn't enough at this point to do that project. We may be several $1 million short already without talking to industry and adding all of the bells and whistles that they're looking for.
Potentially.
Okay, well, so essentially, we would need a capital campaign to bring in this several additional $1 million. Okay. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, thanks.
Other questions about the the contract for architecture and engineering services. Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Roger,
Second.
seconded by Vanessa. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Unanimous decision, Rachel? Rochelle? Getting tired? All right, so we did kind of step into the next topic to help us understand the first one, contract with Adroit Construction. Anything else to add to that discussion?
So I'll say 3 firms attended the pre-proposal meeting and all 3 firms bid. We interviewed all 3 firms. Adroit, SME, James, and Vitus Construction. Adroit Construction was selected for CMGC, and their services for pre-construction work will not exceed $19,950. Once it's complete, then we will negotiate the guaranteed maximum price. Bring it for board approval.
Any questions for Lisa? All right, then I would entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
Been moved by Vanessa and seconded by Roger to approve the contract with Adroit Construction for CMGC Services Transportation Technology Building. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimous. All right, we're moving along. Review continuation of the reserve fund.
Oh, yes, reserve fund. Okay. So there is an Oregon State Law, ORS 294.346, that says that the board shall continue or revoke our ability to have a reserve fund every 10 years. So we are bringing this forward. We created our reserve fund more than, well,
Okay.
a while ago. And we are now under the understanding that we need this resolution passed. If you would like to keep our reserve fund going.
All right. Okay, any questions for Lisa? I would entertain a motion.
I'll move. That we continue to have the reserve fund.
I'll second that.
Any second?
I'll second it.
And seconded by Roger. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? None, unanimous decision. All right. We are now at the intent to reimburse expenditure from proceeds of tax exempt obligations.
So this resolution would allow us to, if the board so chose to go out for a bond levy, to add this as one of our projects and reimburse the reinvestment reserves that we are investing in this project.
Did you say that again?
So if we actually pass a bond levy, if this would allow us to add it to the project because we're adopting it before we start the project, we can reimburse our expenses that we're investing.
We're not talking about the state bond.
No.
No, we're
Local option bond down the road.
If it's an,
sorry, the local option, yes.
okay, so it's not on the table, but we're
Correct.
approving.
Someday, if we could.
Okay, it seems like we're getting the cart ahead of the horse.
Well, so what happens is, and there's a school that just passed a fall bond levy that did just this. And so what this does is, we're committing to doing this project. If down the road we pass a bond and we decide, wow, we really hamstrung ourselves by using our reserves on that, we want to include it as part of the bond.
Okay.
With this, you can. Absent this, you can't. It doesn't require you to do it. If you say, no, we want to do the bond for other things down the road, you can do that.
Okay.
But this just provides that window of opportunity if you choose to go through it later.
Providing an option, I like it, okay. So moved.
All right,
I'll second it.
been moved by Roger and seconded by Vanessa. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous decision. All right. We are now at L, suspension of the administrative medical assistant career pathway certificate. Juliet?
This is a request to spend this program. We will still have the medical assistant program. The CCMA licensure is not required for employment, and we will redirect students into the basic patient services career pathway certificate. that are interested in those entry-level careers.
Just out of curiosity, is this a higher wage if they were to get the certificate? It's not, it's just a different.
It's a
option
different
for-
entry point, yeah.
All right, I'd entertain a motion on item 11.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the Administrative Medical Assistant Career Pathway Certificate. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There are no abstentions and no noes. So that's a unanimous decision. We'll go to item M, suspension of the entry-level massage therapist career pathway.
So we have a career pathway certificate, a certificate, and a one-year certificate. With multiple programs within the massage therapy. This one with our changing of the general eds, it's actually one course difference. And so to simplify things for students, we are eliminating the option with just the one class difference.
I'd entertain a motion.
They'll take one class more to get the.
Correct.
Okay, to get the 1 year
To get the certificate.
certificate. Okay,
So moved.
It's been moved by Roger,
I'll second it.
seconded by Vanessa to suspend the entry-level massage therapist career pathway certificate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous decision. All right, we will now move on to new business. Oh, there's a commencement on June 14th. All right, Randy.
I just wanted to make everyone aware, commencement's June 14th, but we'll be having it in the bowl again this year.
Right.
Keep an eye on your emails. If you would like to attend, I'll be coordinating your regalia and everything.
Okay,
And this year, I will warn you, we're going to wear hats.
Got it. We're
Okay.
good to go.
wearing hats. Be prepared for that. All right, any other thoughts on commencement? Okay, we don't have any old business, so I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Approved, no. There is another unanimous motion on the consent. And at this time, we will now move into executive session. So the Board of Education will now meet in executive session pursuant to RM 660, paragraph I, performance evaluation of public officers, as previously stated. Action item number 2. General session meeting is now in recess at 5:00. All right, we have returned to open session at 6:36 and we still have a quorum. The same 5 board members have remained. And do we have anyone in the audience? Rochelle?
Chris Bristol from the
Chris.
Grand Daily Courier.
All right, so I want to just say publicly, Randy, that the board is extremely pleased with your performance. And we're happy that you're going to lead us into the next, into the future. And we've given you a lot of very positive and specific feedback. So I'm pleased to share that information publicly. At this time, we want to talk about your contract and the negotiations that might occur or will occur. And we are also mindful of the Oregon Open Public Meetings Law that would create special meetings in the event that more than one of us met with you. So you and I had a conversation, and I wanted to share that I am, as the chair, willing to act on behalf of the board to talk with you about your contract and things that you would like to have and work with you on that. Again, we're extremely pleased with your performance, recognizing fairness to you, to be able to maintain your continued employment as president of the college going forward is obviously a strong concern that we have. And it would, the renewed contract or the revised contract would come back to the board at the May meeting. And so at that meeting, we would then have an action item to then act on the changes to the contract. So And of course, any conversation that might arise during that action item could be had then in that public setting. So this is an opportunity to assign a person to be the person representing the board and entering into discussions with Randy about his successor contract. So that's the purpose of the topic.
So are you looking for like a motion for the board to appoint you as the sort of liaison for the board and Randy through the negotiation part to bring
Exactly.
us?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure. I
Yes, that is
Just
a
summarizing.
correct assumption.
Okay,
So that's sort of where we're going, and we've consulted each other, we've consulted OCCA, and we think that this is a good approach to go forward with that.
it's a pretty typical approach.
It's a typical.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Was that the motion then?
Oh, I move that we appoint Gary to be the liaison to work with Randy on contract negotiations.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to appoint me as the chair to be the liaison and board representative to work with Randy on his revisions to his successor contract. So discussion on the motion, any discussion? I don't see or hear any discussion.
Gary, the only thing I wonder if it's not already part of policy and procedural language that the chair, I have no concern with the motion, but I wonder if if it's not already in our policies and procedures that the chair will be responsible for this. And if it isn't, we should probably think about adding it.
Memorializing it. Funny you mentioned that topic because at the next meeting, I do plan to bring back an existing policy that does talk about how we nominate officers and fill committees. But it's silent on this particular feature. So maybe would be a time to add that.
Okay.
All right, and having been a part of the process and being on the executive of the president's performance committee and having been part of the process, I'm aware of at least some of the practices and the desires of board members. So I will use that to help guide me in the fairness as I approach this work with Randy. All right, then hearing no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye, so it's a unanimous decision. All right. Then, roundtable.
I just wanted to say thank you for the explanations today. I know it kind of put you on the spot as we started with the action items, but it really does help me to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
Because I could read it all in the packet, but then I'm like, does it mean what I think it means?
Right.
So I just want to tell you, I appreciate it and thank you. And please tell your team thank you as well.
We'll pass that on, and if those explanations warrant further questions, feel free to ask them. We want to make sure that you're making, especially on those items you're taking action on,
Right.
that you're making as informed of a decision as you need.
Since Vanessa and I had such a heavy load of motioning.
You did.
I think I'm done. I'm good.
Good. All right. Anything from Jonathan, Maria?
Well, much appreciation to the members there for carrying all the motion work. So thank you. And Randy, have a great time. Well-deserved break.
Yeah, agreed. All right, and we
Wait,
wish, Jonathan.
I was just gonna say, I'm glad to see Roger and Vanessa have water and they kept hydrated during the.
Okay, and I would just add my good wishes to you, Randy. Vacation well-deserved and earned, and I wish you safe travels.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Looking forward to the trip. I'll be looking forward to returning when we get back.
All right, don't look at your email. All right, with that, we will adjourn this meeting of the board at 6:43.